There are very few feelings as a fan better than watching your team walk onto your rival's field and clinch a spot in the playoffs. But that is exactly the feeling that Notre Dame fans just got to feel. And as I've said a million times throughout this season, just a few months ago, I would have never thought this was possible. But this Notre Dame team proved everyone wrong. And nothing came easy this season. Even that last game against USC, as much as I would like to say they dominated, scoring 49 points, this was a tight game. And USC did fight until the very end, and they deserve a lot of credit for that. But it really has been quite the turnaround. You don't often see high-ranked teams lose in the fashion they did to a lower-tier opponent and get up and bounce back. I mean, look at Florida State. They completely imploded and never got back on track at all. But Marcus Freeman really showed what a leader he is. Instead of turning on his players, he worked on how they could improve. He completely shifted the focus and used the loss as a learning lesson. And now Notre Dame will most likely host college football's first ever playoff game at an actual home stadium. It's going to be legendary, and I'm going to talk all about it. But before I begin, I would really appreciate it if you would drop a like and subscribe. It only takes 5 seconds, plus you can always change your mind. We're on the road to 40,000 subscribers, and with your support, I believe that we can get there super fast. Alright, so starting off, let's go a little bit deeper on Marcus Freeman, because I really do think that Notre Dame is proving that having a player coach matters. We are seeing it more and more throughout sports. Having a guy that can relate to the players can really be beneficial, and NFL teams are keeping this guy on their radar. I've seen Chicago Bears rumors already, but I'm not going to get into any of that in this video, because I want the focus to solely be on what's ahead for the Irish the next couple of weeks. But first off, let's get into what transpired on Saturday against USC, because a win is a win. I know Notre Dame probably would have liked to have won by a bigger margin, but year after year, we see what can transpire during rivalry week. Getting a win is at the top of the agenda, and that is exactly what the Irish did. And they have found the formula for winning. A new player steps up and makes a big play every single week. The game started tightly with both teams locked in a 14-14 tie at halftime, but Notre Dame's resilience was on full display through the second half, where they outscored USC 35-21. This was one of the odder games of the season. The defense won this game for Notre Dame, getting 2 pick sixes, flipping the entire field both times. And these defensive scores not only added to Notre Dame's point total, but also shifted momentum decisively in their favor. I don't know what would have happened without these plays. But even though the defense made some outstanding game-changing plays, Jadarian Prince had a career high in rushing yards with 111 on 12 carries, with a 36-yard touchdown. And he really got going in the second half. That's really what the Irish did. They just wore down a USC defense that had its problems over the last couple of seasons. Jeremiah Love had 99 yards on 13 carries before leaving with an injury, and he also had 38 yards in the receiving department. He also showcased his athleticism with another highlight reel worthy hurdle. This running back duo has emerged as one of the best in college football, rivaling Ohio State's Quinshon Judkins and Travion Henderson. Coming into this game, Riley Leonard knew that he would have to have one of his biggest games of the year, because you just knew it was going to be a shootout. So how did he respond? Well, he was ultra efficient, going 17 of 22 on his throws, and he had 155 yards with 2 touchdowns and that 1 interception. It really was the running game that took over though, and made life easy on Leonard. But when he was called upon to make a big throw, that's exactly what he did. And I've just been super impressed with Leonard's resilience all season, because like I've said a million times, he could have just packed it in and felt sorry for himself after losing to NIU in that fashion. But he responded and came back playing with his hair on fire for the rest of the season. Anyways, in terms of some of the position players, Mitchell Evans had a breakout game with 5 catches for 59 yards and a touchdown. He showcased his ability to high point the ball and use his size effectively. In terms of the defense, although this game was kind of a bit of a shootout as expected, as I said, the defense won this one, and they made crucial plays when it mattered most. Christian Gray, despite struggling early, allowing 8 catches for 130 yards and committing 2 penalties, he made that game-changing interception return for a touchdown. And Xavier Watts was another guy who had a pick 6, and he really has had some impressive games against the Trojans. A couple more standout guys were Leonard Moore, who is a true freshman that has had 5 pass breakups, which is tied for the most in a single game by any FBS player this season, and he only allowed 2 catches for 27 yards on 10 targets. He also had 5 tackles as well to add to his stats. And then Jack Kaiser, the 6-year senior, had 8 total tackles playing 60 snaps. I thought one unit that had a big impact on this game was the defensive line. line. They may have struggled a bit to get consistent pressure, and it may not have shown in the stat sheet, but they applied crucial pressure that led to interceptions. Gabriel Rubio recorded the only actual sack for Notre Dame. It does kind of suck for Notre Dame not being in a conference, because now they can't get a first round bye, but in a way, you have to win a conference championship anyways to get this bye. So you can kind of look at not playing in the championship game as a bye itself. They can use this week to rest up, come up with new game plans, and just to prepare for the journey ahead. Notre Dame was the only traditional offense that was ranked the top scoring against scoring offenses in college football this year of the ones that Notre Dame had faced. And let's be honest, they played a ton of bad quarterbacks. I don't think that's debatable. I will be very interested to see where Notre Dame ends up officially getting ranked for the playoffs and who they match up against. I know Ohio State sucks and Ryan Day is not the guy, but I think the last thing the Irish would want is like a 7-10 matchup against them or anything like that. I think the best possible scenario would be against a team like Boise or SMU, because even though they are super talented and they are good, there still is just always a big difference between the teams that played in lower tier and top tier conferences all year. But I've learned one thing from watching Notre Dame this season: no matter who they play, don't count them out. If they can respond the way they did after one of the most embarrassing losses in the program's history, then they can respond to some of the adversity the playoffs may throw at them. I'm definitely curious what you have to say about this though in the comments below. But first, let's see what everyone else is saying.
We spoke about Indiana for the majority of the year having the #1 margin of victory in the college football. Right now, that's Notre Dame. Notre Dame, the NIU loss is a blemish and a half on their resume. That was week 2. So, like, if we're going to talk about momentum and who teams are right now, Notre Dame is playing like one of the best teams in college football. Absolutely beat the doors in on USC yesterday. They got a win at A&M in week 1, if we want to talk about that. They also beat Louisville when they were ranked. I mean, they've beaten 2 ranked service academies, and I think that deserves at least maybe a little bit of attention. You say, the service academies. Yeah, again, top 25 teams in all of college football. Deserve some attention.
The Notre Dame Fighting Irish machine keeps on rolling. They've now won 10 straight by a margin, combining all the scores, of 441 to 134. So they're averaging over the course of the last 10 games about 44 points a game offensively and giving up about 13. Pretty dang solid, okay? This was probably the toughest test that they've faced so far as personnel on the offensive side of the football.
That's really all I have to say for this video. Thank you all so much if you made it to this point, and if you enjoyed and haven't yet, please be sure to drop a like and subscribe, because your support truly does mean the world. And also, let me know what you would like to see next, and until then, I will see you all later.